y'all. Welcome inside a special edition of the High School Huddle, along with Ronnie Phillips, Phil Nichols. I'm Chris Evans. Today we are joined by our special guest, Jeff Murray, a longtime official for the OSSAA. He's done it in many, many sports, and so glad to have Jeff with us here today. Yep. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Anytime we can talk football, it's always a good thing.
Absolutely. Jeff Murray, how long had you been a sports official?
Well, I started my officiating career when I was a senior in high school, so basically 40 years. Had football for 35, and worked basketball for 18, and baseball for basically 40 years.
Wow.
I took a couple of years off. I got sick for baseball, but yeah, it's been a solid 40 years.
Yeah, and Jeff Murray's been doing state championships in baseball and football for a long, long time. I know a lot of people look up to him, and I know I wear him out all season long on rule questions the entire season.
That's why we refer to him as Jeff the Ref.
That's right.
The Ref.
Jeff, how did you get into sports officiating?
Well, growing up in Lindsay, Oklahoma, I was an average athlete. When Coach Estes told me to run like a dry creek, I knew I had to find a way to stay involved. Coach Haley asked me to referee a scrimmage. Girls scrimmage after practice one day, and so I jumped in, and sure, there was a couple of girls I want to try to date on the girls basketball team, so it gave me an extra advantage to get close to the, stay in the gym and pick up a whistle. I asked Coach Estes, Coach Haley said, "What do you do when you when I'm refereeing?" He goes, "Blow the whistle. If somebody gets knocked down, the ball goes out of bounds," and that was the start of it in 1983.
Wow.
That's what a run. We got so many questions to throw at you here in the next 30 minutes or so, but what's someone took you under their wings to show you how to be an official. I think that's a big part of looking for new officials, but how important have those relationships getting into officiating?
Oh, it's such an important, you've got to have mentors. You've got to have people that will encourage you to pick you up and pick you up by the bootstraps and lead you along through the process. It's important that people understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. Nobody's going to work the Moore-Westmore game, the first game of the year, right off the bat early in your career. You've got to work your way up through the process. But one of the things I really want to talk about today is getting the coaches involved. When these kids graduate, they're not going to play in college sports somewhere. They do, even after college. I refereed intramural when I was at East Central. But if the coaches can encourage these guys to get involved, and gals, then I think it's an important step to getting them out there and enjoying the game and staying active and staying involved. I mean, I never thought I'd still be refereeing football 35 years later, but here I am.
That's awesome. So, Jeff, I got a question for you. So, back in your early days when you first started, what's the memory that kind of sticks out to you? There's a story that you just kind of that you can always go back to until back from your early days.
Now, the first time my dad ever saw me officiate basketball, I had the Lindsay tournament. I think I was like maybe early 20s, my 5th or 6th year in basketball, and I got 2 tees in the first 20 seconds of the ball game. I tee a kid up. He makes the 3-point shot, gets in the kid's face, and starts running his mouth. So my first whistle is a technical foul. And then the coach comes down the end of the bench, stomps his foot, and screams at me some more. So I tee him up. And my dad came down at halftime. He said, "Man, Jeff," he goes, "you don't take any crap, do you?" Got to control the game.
That's awesome.
Hey, Jeff, good to see you, first of all, brother.
Always
enjoyed chatting with you. We're going back to trying to get coaches, to get kids to get engaged in the profession. Is there a sport, you've done basketball, you've done baseball, you've done football, is there a sport that you think is the best entry point, or should they just jump in and try them all and see what they like the most and what they have a natural inclination
see what they have a passion for? They can, just kind of jump in and see what works for them. But
yeah,
I started out working a few Little League baseball games, and the basketball when I worked that scrimmage, and it's been a great ride. I never thought I'd still be doing it at this point. And the friends I've made and the places it's taken me across the country and across the region has been very rewarding.
No doubt. And not only for the OSSAA, but, this has allowed you to do other cool things. Like you've been on the OU sideline and got to do some stuff with them. So it can take you so many places. But I think that's one of the cool things that you've got to do, on the Division I level.
Yeah, I got to be on the OU sideline on the chain crew for 10 years. I worked college football in Kansas for 7 years. So those relationships and those stories are always fun to tell, and it's the best seat in the house. If anybody wants to learn how to referee, feel free to ask. I mean, we got people that will help you. It's important that you step up on the sideline and ask the right questions and really get involved. There's a lot of people who will help you.
Of course, and all they have to do, Jeff, is if they don't know somebody to get a hold of, you can simply go to your the town you live in, and go to the athletic director or coach, like you said, say, hey, how would I get involved in this? But if you want to go direct, just go on the OSSAA website, right?
Correct. Yeah, or just call the office, ask for Grant, Sherry, either one of those. Or if Chris wants to post my email, they can certainly email me questions as well.
Yeah.
So I'm always glad to help.
Jeff, how is the referee numbers this year? I know there's been a big campaign, a big push to bring on more officials, but how is it this season?
I looked last week on the website, I think we had 900 and some odd registered officials across the state of Oklahoma for football. Last year, I think they were upwards of 1,200 for basketball, which is a little bit better post-COVID numbers, people getting back into it and staying active. So, the more people we get involved, there's always going to be, like last Friday, one of my guys on my crew had a medical outpatient thing, and he ended up missing the game on Friday. We were able to pick somebody up and take his place. We didn't miss a beat. But certain weeks there are games in Oklahoma City that we don't have anybody left to cover games with. So it's important we have young people to get involved, learn the rules, get in the situation, because we want to be able to put them in the right places and protect them and build them up so they understand what's going on. We don't want to throw them to the wolves and have a bunch of coaches and parents just going crazy on them. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. I asked a kid one day when I was umpiring baseball, and I said, why don't you get involved after officiating when you graduate this spring? And he goes, well, I wouldn't mind it, but he said, I saw how my coach acted on the sideline. He acted a fool. Why would I want to be exposed to that? I don't want to get yelled at. Somebody's crazy, but.
Wow.
So I think one thing, if the people that are out there trying to decide if they want to be an official, so we're in football season right now, walk us through a typical day of a Friday night light for you, because it's not just showing up by yourself to the stadium and dressing in your car. You're part of a team, right? And you guys typically ride together. You go have lunch and dinner. So just kind of walk us through a typical day of a Friday night football official.
I've been fortunate for the last 15 years. I had the same 5 guys. I made one crew change this year, but the same 5 guys for 15 seasons, the camaraderie, the understanding of what we're going to do, and we trust each other. But my preparation begins on Sunday night. I will email the athletic director to verify all of our crew members, all of our information as far as time of arrival, give the athletic director my phone number and information if he needs to reach me before then. And then I will print out a bunch of crew cards and information. We've got pregame responsibilities we go through each week. I'll send the crew a list of 4 or 5 basic rules questions just to make them think about stuff during the week. Our local association meetings will start in late August, early August. We'll meet for 6 or 7 Wednesday nights here in Oklahoma City at 6:30 to 7 o'clock, or 6:30 to 8 o'clock, about an hour and a half. We have about 125 people show up. And so we'll have video discussion, rules chats, all that kind of stuff. So that's on Wednesday night. Friday, I'm kind of meticulous about how I pack my bag, how I get things, how I prepare myself mentally so I can get on the game site. And I don't like to be rushed. So the last thing I want to do is be caught in 5 o'clock traffic and rush hour. So we get to the games on a high school football game an average of 2 hours ahead of time. If I'm there at 5 o'clock for 7 o'clock kickoff, that's pretty good. Middle school, sub-varsity games, the guys get there 30 minutes in advance. That's real, that's not bad, but I just don't like to be stressed and rush around trying to get to the game. But yeah, our preparation starts on Sunday evening.
Jeff, talk a little
things that go with it.
I'm sorry, Jeff, talk a little bit more about, so like if you have 2 powerhouse teams like we'll say Bixby and Jeeks, right? I would assume the officiating crews that are calling those games kind of know what those teams do offensively, how they scheme defensively. So, because does that have an effect on not how you call the game? You're going to call the game as it comes, but just in preparation and reminding everybody, hey, remember this kid does this kid does that. Are those discussions? Does a lot of that happen? I would assume on the drive to the game, and then obviously preparation before, and then you're using that drive besides laughing a lot, I'm sure, and having fun. Because I know that's what we do when we go on road trips to call games. It's a lot of fun. But how much preparation goes in based on what those teams do well?
Technology has changed so much in the years I started this. To show my age, I'm 59 years old, soon to be 60. But when I was at East Central, I was on the film crew. We'd have 8mm film. We'd drive it to Edmond every day, get it developed, and take it back for Coach O'Neill to have ready by 6 o'clock Sunday morning. But now with technology, I have my video from the Friday night game, usually by Saturday at noon or Sunday afternoon at the latest. So I can go back and look at that and pull the different plays and see what we did right or wrong and things we need to fix and correct. But as far as tendency goes, yeah, we'll look at huddle, we'll look at video. There's enough game footage online that we know who their best players are. We know what to kind of prepare for, and that's part of your routine preparation. Yeah. I mean, the last thing, if you have a team that's running the option, man, you got to make sure you get a slow whistle because you sure don't want that kid pitching the ball and fullback's got it up the middle somewhere. So, those are the things you have to think about.
Jeff, what's the separation between a good official and a great official? I know in the baseball world, the main thing is look the part, dress right, make sure everything, the uniform looks good, and being approachable to coaches. But what separates good from great? Maybe the learning curve. You can be great with the rules. Of course, rules is a good thing to have as well. But what are some of the biggest things you think that separate officials?
It's game management, understanding the flow of the game, the ins and outs of what's going on, and the emotions are such a big part of that. Also, sometimes I think referees have to be part-time psychologists because you get coaches on the sideline, and I've said this for years, especially in football. A reasonable question will get you a reasonable answer. I want to make sure we communicate with the coaches and so they understand what's going on. The last thing I want to do is have the coach tell me I didn't communicate very well or I was unapproachable. As you mentioned, the other part of that, look the part, show up on time, be professional. There's so many things you can do in your preparation. I mentioned earlier about contacting the administrators or contacting your assigners, and a lot of that is such a huge step. You can create a positive image and by showing up and doing things ahead of time.
So when the coach gets all upset and gets to yelling, what is one rule that seems to be the biggest issue that's misconception that people don't quite understand it? Like a coach can misinterpret this rule or fans misinterpret this rule. What's that rule in high school that the fans or the coaches even sometimes don't even realize it's the wrong way. They're thinking it should be this way instead.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was working football in Kansas for 7 or 8 years, my biggest fear was enforcing college rule in a high school game and vice versa. And Chris and I mentioned this earlier. We would spend our 6 or 5 hour drive into Kansas discussing nothing but the 233 rule changes. So I don't know if there's a particular rule in high school per se, but there's rule change. I mean, there's rule changes every year. And so, that's the thing that the coaches have to go to rules meetings. We go to rules meetings. And education is such a big key, especially if it's a major rule change that, like last year, we had some things of penalty enforcement, go back to the previous spot, that kind of thing. But,
yeah. So what's the rule change in high school that we need to know about just in case it happens while we're calling a game?
This year the big one is the forward fumble out of bounds.
Okay.
Between the goal lines, if you fumble the ball forward, it comes back to the beanbag where the ball was fumbled, and the clock will go on the ready or will keep running.
Okay.
If the ball is fumbled backwards, out of bounds, it's just a normal play where it goes out of bounds. The ball is spotted there, and the clock will stop. But if you have a forward fumble out of bounds between the goal lines, then it comes back to the spot, and the clock will continue to run when you get the ball spotted.
Every year there's rule changes, but there's also points of emphasis. What are some of the biggest ones this year in high school football here in
Oklahoma? It happens every year. I mean, you'll see it. The knee pad issues, the equipment issues. When you have college guys on TV and wearing the jorts or the shorts that don't even come close to covering the knees, that's a huge thing. And I'll give a shout out. And I worked the McGinnis Deer Creek game week 0, and Coach Stanley and Coach Stringer, man, they must have done something right because we had no equipment issues. Those guys, I think, Mr. Gower in the secondary schools office has made a really, really big point of emphasis on the equipment issue. And so it's nice to see a game Friday night where we didn't have any problems. But the knee pads are going to be a continuous issue until it gets corrected across the country. It's not just an Oklahoma issue. That's a national issue.
Jeff, what's the reasoning for having different rules at the high school, college levels? Why is it just not, here's the rules of football, follow them?
And to add to Phil, like the pass interference in the end zone, it's different. It feels like it's different on all levels. And I watch all levels, and I can't keep it straight.
Yeah.
There's the rule changes.
Soapbox
I wish
time.
they'd have one set of rules, just as Phil mentioned, because
Yeah.
in Texas they have NCAA high school and with some modifications. Because I don't want to work a college football game and enforce a high school rule I mentioned earlier, but having one set of rules would make it universal. But it's a safety issue. They don't want the college rules being applied in a high school game. It's really being a safety issue.
So give me an example of a rule. I mean, and I'm not arguing, I just don't know. Give me an example of a rule that by changing at the high school level, it makes the game more safe.
I really don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
I don't think yeah.
But that's the reason they give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a rule that's different at all three levels. So in the NFL, pass interference, it's at the spot of the foul, it's at the spot of the foul, automatic first down. College, it's 15 yards, automatic first down. High school, it is 15-yard penalty, not automatic first down.
Correct.
Can that be more universal, you think?
No, that's not a bad. I mean, I kind of wish they'd go back to it, but I mean, I don't know how they changed it. Unless you're trying to be consistent with the offensive, defensive pass interference, but it's. I wish they would go back and have a consistent set of rules that everybody can apply and understand.
Yeah.
Because what you see on Friday is not what you see on Saturday.
Well, and I think that's where a lot of the
Confusion.
the anger in the stands comes from is somebody's used to how they call it in the college or the NFL. It's usually pass interference, and it's usually at the NFL level. They say, "Well, that's part of the foul. What do you mean it's only 15 yards?" You know, I get it.
And the automatic first down and not automatic first down in high school is a real one that
It's
people,
a real one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if next year they come with a automatic first down for defensive personal fouls, but we'll see if that passes the rules committee in the next couple of years.
And Jeff, to add to their points, if you make a call on Friday night and the coach goes, well, last week we had the same call and this happened. So it's very important for the Oklahoma football officials to have this, to know this, go by the same rules as well, because it happens a lot. Well, this happened to me last week. Well, that was last week. I can't handle that, but this is this week. But the officials got to be on the same page as well.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's why it's so important to get the young guys to buy into the rule study and coming to the meetings and doing things and learning from some of the veteran guys, because those mistakes can happen. I can't tell you what happened in the game last week. I can just tell you how we're going to enforce it tonight, and move forward from there.
I think one of the things that's been interesting to me over the years, and I can't remember the exact situation. You guys know it was 3 or 4. That probably means it was 8 in my life. You and I are the same age, Jeff. So I'll say something happened 2 years ago, and they'll look at me and say, "Phil, that was 2009." And so the playoff game where there was a call that was made, remember the coach, there was the appeal. You guys remember, was it Millwood or
it was Douglas?
Douglas, here in Oklahoma. I guess my point of bringing that up is there's always going to be calls that people that sometimes we don't get right. What I always tell people is, I promise you, there's nobody wants to get everything right more than the crew that's on the field. Is that one? So how do you guys handle that when you're watching your film the following Saturday or whatever, watching your game back, and you guys as a crew sit around and go, "Yeah, I blew that one." I mean, and then just talk through it.
When you have 5 guys covering 22 players, it's controlled chaos. But like Saturdays, they have 8 guys, and so they have different coverages and different mechanics and different things to do at the snap. But there are some holes in the 5-man mechanics where stuff will be missed. You just hope it's not a critical point in the ball game. You hope it's not, one that Grandma can see on the 8th row of the stadium. So,
Jeff, can you hear Grandma and Uncle Pete yell in the stands?
No, not in football.
Could you in basketball? Could you in basketball?
Oh yeah, they're right on top of it. Everybody has an opinion about basketball.
Yeah,
everybody knows what a double dribble is.
Yeah,
and the most popular 3 seconds in the lane. We last week on our live show, Ronnie brought up a point of adding more officials in the playoffs, and we uploaded that video. And I got a white hat who has been in state championship games, much like you, and about maybe adding a 6th or 7th official, which has come up in conversations. And from what I was told, a lot of the coaches don't like that because they hadn't seen it all year. But your thoughts on adding a 6th or 7th official in maybe in some type of a playoff game, where it be semis or championships, There's a lot of positives and there's some negatives I've learned today about that.
I remember in 1993 when we went from 4-man crews to regular to become 5-man crews. The coaches were hesitant at first because they thought that extra person in the back judge was going to be throwing more flags and creating more chaos. And they ultimately understood that it's important to have the game coverage as the game gets faster and teams move downfield. But I think 6 and 7 officials in the playoffs in the quarterfinals, semifinals, I mean, the numbers would be there. But as I said earlier, I'm not sure the coaches association probably have to prove this as well. But I don't know, it's probably not a deal with finance as far as paying officials. But I've got my 5 guys. You threw another 1 guy or 2 guys into the mix. They haven't been with you all season. You know, the continuity might not be there, but I think it can work. And I think there's a lot of positive attributes to it. And I think it's probably important that I'd like to see that happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, baseball, we have 2-man crews throughout the season. Then in playoffs, we go to 3-man crew.
Yeah. And I'm advocating go to 4 for the state finals in baseball.
Yeah. I would be definitely happy with that one.
Because at the end of the day, everybody wants the calls to be right. You know, I mean, I understand all the other stuff.
Biggest point, yeah.
But at the end of the day, we want to get the calls right so we don't take away from the competition that's going on the field. You know, you guys, we always refer to you guys as the third team on the field, and that's so true. Now, I'm not asking for names, but I know for a fact, because I know this is how I would be, there'd be certain games that I draw that I'd be like, oh, man, I'm going to get wore out, especially side judge. I'm going to get wore out all freaking night. This is going to be – there's got to be teams like that.
And there's got to be a game, too, where you're like, man, I hope I get this game. What's that, too?
There are I'll use this. Joe Cook as a reference at McGinnis was one of my all-time favorite baseball coaches. He was a guy that I knew that knew the rules. And if Joe Cook said something to me during a baseball game, I usually had to pay attention. My ears perked up because he never said anything during the game. But if he said something, hey, I got to pay attention. He's probably right. And so you approach the officials in the right manner. If I have a coach on the sideline who's screaming on every play about this, that, or the other, you know, I joked with one of my partners one day. I said, man, if that guy doesn't be quiet, I'm going to be like my ex-wife and just turn off my hearing aid. It's about game management. I mean, it goes back to that professionalism. If respect is earned, not given, you've got to earn that respect. And that's why I got to do a good job with our young officials in the middle school games to not let these coaches run roughshod over them. You know, and tell them how to help them understand how to work through the sidelines.
I want to get into the weeds just a little bit. In the playoffs, football, especially in Oklahoma, are graded. I mean, there's not very many officials that are graded in other sports. I'm not sure if there's any other besides football. Talk a little bit about that grading process and also playoff assignments, what you can and can't do. I think you can be on this week and off this week. Talk about that process.
Yeah, that's the more Grant Garrett question, but I'll give you my 2 cents for what it's worth. The playoff process, obviously, we have to take the test. We have to do the concussion video. We have to do a lot of the preseason things. And then halfway through the season in early October, we will get together. David Gore will the state rules interpreter will issue a mandated crew test that you have to take to be eligible for playoffs. And so they grade those tests. And I think I did a deal last year. I looked where the 8 crews that worked the state final all made 92 or better on their crew test.
Wow.
So that's a big proponent, obviously, of the rules. But you do that, and the coaches are supposed to turn in ratings, good, bad, fair, poor, whatever. And then you get a numerical rating that they can look at the end of the year as well. But they used to have an evaluation program, which I kind of wish they would go back to, where they would have retired officials go out and watch certain crews that are up and coming, new guys that have a lot of potential, that believe they can work deep into the playoffs, and let those veteran guys visit with them after the game, fill out a report, and talk to them. So I'd like to see them go back to that. But the more information, the more stuff you can share with people, the better you're going to be.
And what about the playoff assignments? You can work 2 weeks in a row, or if you're working a championship, you're off.
Sometimes I've worked the first 2 games, the first 2 weeks set out a week, and then worked the semifinals. Sometimes I worked 3 straight weeks. One year I worked the first week, the last 2, and then I worked week 5. So it's just a matter of availability and who matches up and travel. I mean, Grant's not going to send Buddy from Woodward to McAllister, so it's playoffs wise, just
There's a big deal between Oklahoma City and Tulsa and many, many, many things. Is there a difference? Is there a Tulsa and an OKC official association? Is it, of course, there's others out there as well, but everyone get along, OKC, Tulsa?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the guys, every official in Oklahoma, we all, understand the importance of our role in the game. The greater Tulsa Official Association, Ethan Rowland, those guys do a fantastic job of leading their organization. And we do a weekly conference call on Wednesday nights at from 9 to 10 o'clock. We have a Zoom meeting with about 120 referees from across the country, or across the state, where Ethan and David Gore and some other veteran guys can lead conversation. They'll show some huddle videos, certain plays, and talk about things that have occurred during the season that need to be fixed. But no, the officiating fraternity is pretty tight. I mean, I'm not those guys. We all are in it for the right reasons, and there's no rivalry whatsoever. I'll go up and work with those guys any day of the week.
Could you guys put on a seminar for other groups to work together in the state of Oklahoma, perhaps?
Yeah, we had a statewide meeting here in Oklahoma City. Rogers Redding and George Demetrio wrote this book. It's a thick book on the rule study. And we brought him down from Colorado 3 weeks ago, and he spent the day with us at Putnam City North. We had about 150 officials from all across the state, a couple from Kansas that came down. So, yeah, the more knowledge we can share. And George is 74 years old and been working football for a long time. He's the state rules interpreter for the state of Colorado. And so he came down and spent the day with us, and that was a big deal. We were honored to have him here.
So with that going on and all the meetings and the talks you guys have, where do you see officiating in high school, specifically Oklahoma? Where do you see that going in the next 5 to 10 years? How's it look?
Well, numbers wise, we just I'll tell you a story. I walked into our first local meeting a couple of weeks ago. I looked up and I said, "Hey, am I at an AARP meeting or am I at a football meeting? There's so many gray hairs in here." So we don't have a lot of young people that have experience that want to jump up and be crew chiefs. Because I can tell you, in the next 3 to 5 years in Oklahoma City, there's going to be a bunch of veteran guys getting out that are 60 to 65 years old. And so that's going to have a huge impact.
Jeff, and
I know they're talking about playing some games on Thursday nights, moving games around, but the athletic directors in rural parts of the state, they schedule their own crews. But Oklahoma City and Tulsa, we have assigners, and the schools pay them to do the games for us. But
Jeff,
they got to get more people involved, and we got to do a better job of recruiting and retaining them. If we can recruit a guy or gal and get them here for 2 years, that third year they stay, I think we got a chance to keep them. Yeah. But life gets in the way, marriages, family, work. We all have a lot of things going on in our lives. But
you just mentioned female. I don't think I've seen any on the high school level here in Oklahoma.
There's probably 4 in our association that are really pretty good. And a couple of them have gone in or started working junior college games in Kansas. So, there's a couple of gals I will work with anywhere, anytime.
There are some good ones. I guess the next step for female officiating is a female white hat.
Yeah, that I don't think we have yet. But we have a lot of good female officials in Oklahoma. And I think it's important that they get involved, if they enjoy the game. I don't care if it's basketball, football, whatever they want to get involved in. We will find a role for them, and we will find a place to get involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of great female officiating basketball. We see that every year.
Basketball.
Yeah, you see that every year at the state basketball tournament. You've done this for a long, long, long time, and I like to ask coaches this, but best player that you've seen personally on the field?
Oh, gosh. I may be the only official in Oklahoma that officiated high school football for 2 Heisman Trophy winners in Jason White and Sam Bradford.
That's pretty good.
But, you look at Welker in his heyday at Heritage Hall, the fine kid from Lincoln Christian. This state has produced a large number of great, talented football players.
Jeff, you're one of the best. We appreciate you dropping some knowledge on us. And again, one more plug for young officials that might be watching us. And we're talking state championship. You're not going to be thrown into Bixby and Owasso in your first game, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. But I think the veteran officials, do such a great job on Monday nights, JV games, freshman games, also junior high games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But just one more time for those young officials who are thinking about it, but worried about rules, worried about mom and dad in the stands, just give them some confidence that they can become an official and be a state championship official like you.
I took a first-year guy with me to Deer Creek on Friday night to keep a foul report and staying on the sideline. He's worked a couple of middle school games already. And I looked at him and said, hey, don't let anybody tell you can't do this, because at 35 years, I'm living proof you can, because I couldn't catch a cold, but I can still referee football. So get involved, go find your local association, contact the state office, get online, look around. The technology is there for people to have and understand your rules knowledge, but don't be afraid to get out there and make a mistake. I mean, I was so nervous in my first ball game. You know, my first ball game I ever worked was with Tonga and Hennessy in 1991, my first varsity game. And it was homecoming. They had every homecoming queen alive from 1923 to 1990, and they all went around Model Ts. We were about 20 minutes late kicking off because their homecoming stuff. But those are the kind of games you remember, certain things that just stick out. And, of course, I've had a couple opportunities to work at a couple of state championships, and those games are always meaningful. But get involved, ask questions, get somebody a mentor, just pick it up and get after it. Have some enthusiasm and enjoy what you do, and be part of Friday Night Lights, and have that opportunity to get out and really make a positive impact. And I'll tell you this, you mentioned Terry Porter last week in your live stream on Wednesday nights. I learned more from Terry Porter working games in Stillwater and Norman when I was trying to get into college football. Those are the kind of people that make an impact way beyond what's on the field of football. So I've always been very diligent about trying to help the young people and push them out there and get involved and be able to help answer their questions. Because somebody helped me along the way, and I've got to be that same person, because I want to find their person that takes my place in a couple of years.
Absolutely. And it's okay to be nervous. Even if you're just the 5A state championship next week, you're going to be nervous.
Absolutely. The trick is to always get your butterflies to fly in formation. So, if you're not nervous, you're dead. Yeah. But there's different levels of nerves. But obviously, when you have a new crew member, when you have changes in your philosophy or rule changes, those things always are circulating, especially early in the season. And so, you got to be on top of your game. But I greatly appreciate you guys letting me jump in tonight. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, I think Jeff's kind of nervous for right now. He's been doing it for so long. Is like I said, if he's got a new guy on the side, that's what he's nervous about. He's not nervous about anything else. He's worried about the new guy. Yeah, that's what he's worried about.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's it.
Well, you're one of the best to do it. You've been doing it for a long, long time. Again, you're the one of the guys that I looked up to when I was getting into sports officiating as well on the baseball side of things. I just remember a tall guy when I first started out.
A couple of games.
Yeah, certainly did. So have a fun season. Hopefully we'll see you in Edmond to cap it off again. But you're one of the best to do it, and we appreciate your time.
Oh, yeah, you guys do a fantastic job promoting high school football. Keep up the great work. I mean, it's important to understand the role of high school sports and athletics and the extracurricular activities. So keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
And that was Jeff Murray of with the OSA. He's been doing it for a long, long time. Appreciate him joining us here, and look forward to seeing him throughout the year.
It's always one of my favorite interviews every single year. When we have opportunity to do officials, I love it. I eat that stuff up. I'd much rather have Jeff Murray on here with us I'd much rather have Jeff than Lauren Montgomery. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to have more Lauren on the show, but
doing both.
But that stuff right there is what I really get into.
Well, and I think what makes it even cooler, and we're fortunate. I mean, you really are, because we're one of them for so many years. But I think if you're just a casual fan and you go to the games and you hear people like the day after game when something didn't go your way, those officials, they were terrible. They did, and I'm thinking, these guys are away from their family, sometimes driving 2 hours away. They make no real money. They're doing it because they love kids and they love the game. and Jeff in particular is just a first-class human being. But what I've learned is 99% of the officials are all first-class human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just good dudes and young ladies that are just wanting to help the kids and be a part of the program. And so I would just echo what Jeff says. Get out there if you have any inclination whatsoever. Man, get a hold of somebody and start officiating games. We need you.
Absolutely. And if you want to go a fast way, just simply go to ossaa.com.
Yeah.
There's an official plug there or link that you can click there, get you there. And worst case scenario, message one of us and we'll get you in the right direction for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I'd say, Chris, is we asked Jeff a lot of questions. I'm going to ask you, who's the best player you ever officiated a game with?
I can remember KC Bookout was a big one. I remember him, but the left-hander from Stillwater.
Anderson.
Yes, Brett Anderson. I remember I was in Perry, and he came in to throw one inning, which wasn't fair, and he threw 9 pitches.
Were you behind the plate?
I was behind the plate, yeah.
How hard did he throw?
Really hard. Really hard. He didn't throw very many fastballs. He was cheating with the slider. Then the little Maroons didn't have a chance.
Get a little work in.
Yeah. So
Little Maroons didn't have a chance.
Didn't have a chance. So, again, that'll do it here. Big thank you to Jeff Murray. Don't forget, our show is live every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, Ronnie Phil and I. And the great thing about it's interactive. It's back and forth because you can put in questions, comments, predictions, your thoughts, all that on the screen. We'll discuss it. It's a really fun show every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Don't forget, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. So be sure to drop in wherever you can. We'll see you Wednesday night. Until then, have a great day.